I'm sticking my neck out here and I'm fully expecting a few unsubscribes this week because I'm going to make things a bit uncomfortable for a few minutes. I'm just warning you. And just so you know, this is something that I'm totally guilty of as well. And I will share one of my experiences in detail. Yes, I have loads of them, but I'll share one of them with you for now. And hey, if you want more of them, give this video a like, share it, and I'll take that as a signal to share some more. Because here's the thing. I've had a lot of conversations with parents over the past week while I ran my exam special webinar. And while some were totally appreciative and diving into the content and loving everything, telling me about ways their teen had already even gone and enacted it the very next day, for others there was some resistance. And it may not be immediately recognizable as that, but that's exactly what it is, resistance. And I'm pretty sure there'll be many more parents out there feeling the same thing. So I want to address it head on. When they were talking about their teen getting the study skills they know they need or getting the full training on exam technique, some parents will say things like, well, I'll just see how the rest of year 11 goes first, and then we might look at doing this next year. Or, yeah, he wants to improve and I think I'll get him an English tutor, for example, for now. And then if his confidence doesn't improve, I'll maybe get him in to watch this webinar next time you run one. And I totally understand this situation. The concepts and training that I teach go beyond those accepted traditions of learning more and more content and having subject-based tutors. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with either of those if you know that understanding specific subject content is what's holding your teen back. But, and here's the part that can be challenging for all of us, if those I'll just do this first or I'll just wait until statements or stories we're telling ourselves are actually, if we really dig deep and really get honest with ourselves, are just excuses to put off what we know we really need to be doing or help us put off accepting the uncomfortable truth of things, then they're not only not helping, they're actually holding us back, holding you back as a parent from experiencing a life of less worry or concern over your teen and their study, stopping your teen from finding out what they're truly capable of and discovering that confidence and pride that's inside of them but hasn't had a chance to break free and be experienced by them yet. And I did this myself in a big way back at the start of this year. I held myself back and I held other teachers back, to be truthful, and other students back. Yes, I said this was uncomfortable. Believe me, it's not fun saying this out loud, but I absolutely recognize it now. And that's the thing. It can be hard for us to really see this clearly for ourselves at the time. But on reflection, it's so clear to see. But only once we've taken action on that thing we've been avoiding. Now, I had plans to create an online program for schools to deliver to their students, similar to my 10-week grade transformation program. In fact, I'd had this plan in my head for about a year before I really started doing anything about it. Because I just know that there are many teachers out there who aren't savvy in exam technique. I certainly wasn't until I became an exam marker in the UK, even though I'd already been teaching for 4 years up until that point, and even won a national teaching award by then. Anyway, I already knew that schools needed teachers, and schools needed this, and teachers needed this training. Students in my online programs had said to me, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that schools aren't teaching this. So I wanted to help as many students as I can, and working with schools was one of those ways. I was already delivering workshops, but making the program was a big project. And then putting it out there and marketing it was psychologically an even bigger step. It's a lot more sort of corporate than the way I share my programs and knowledge with parents like I'm doing with you now. And I'm not from a corporate background. So I decided I needed to read a few books to prepare and equip myself for all this. One of them was the famous Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. I looked up all of these books I thought I wanted and needed on Amazon. I started adding them to the cart and it quickly came to over $200. I was like, this is more than I was expecting. Now, of course, for those people's wisdom and all their teaching and lessons, it totally isn't a lot of money, but that was really me just putting that first step in holding myself back. It had nothing to do with the money, really, because if I didn't order the books, I couldn't read them, and therefore I couldn't start on the schools project yet. It seems so crazy now, but yes, If I look deep, that's what was going on. I was just putting more and more self-inflicted hurdles in my own path to delay the uncomfortable tasks that I knew I needed to do. I was avoiding doing them. So, guess what I did next? I looked those books up on the council library database just so that I could save myself a couple of $100, but actually it was so that I could delay that process a little bit longer. And on a positive note, this helped me discover just how awesome libraries really are, because almost all of the books that I was looking up were on that database. So I requested them, I waited for weeks, some of them months, till they became available. And one of them that I was really keen to read, well, when it actually came through, it sat on my shelf for the entire 2 weeks of the loan. I didn't even open it because I didn't have time. I was working on other things. I was coaching students. I was planning and delivering monthly student seminars. I had resources for my GTZ members. I was also training with the QCAA to become an examiner and panel member for the new senior system. There's always going to be plenty to fill our time with, right? So 2 weeks later, I returned it. I hadn't even opened it. In the meantime, one of my good friends called me out on this. Thank goodness she did. That's the kind of friendship we have. We massively support each other, but we also know when to challenge each other in a helpful way. I think that's actually a pretty rare type of friendship, but it's so valuable and I feel very lucky to have it. Anyway, she asked me what I'm really waiting for. Now, she's a high school teacher herself, and she told me just how much her school and her students needed this information and training that I was planning. We talked about my conversations with parents like you who've asked me in total wonderment why schools aren't teaching this stuff. She even told me about the money her school was already spending on some sort of training that wasn't nearly as good as what I had planned. Her words. Next thing I knew, she had a waitress bring over a pen and she was writing out notes for me, to-do lists with dates and deadlines. And I actually still have those notes. And I agreed to, just as Nike says, just do it. Now, I still wanted to ensure things would work perfectly or very close to perfectly. Nothing really goes 100% right, does it? So my small rock solid team and I decided we'd launch to a small sample of schools, just so we could make sure we could absolutely deliver everything at a really high level, iron out any issues really easily, and then we got to work. A month or so into progress, guess what popped up? Yes, the notification that that Dare to Lead book I'd had on reservation for months was now ready for me at the library. I collected it. I read a few pages. And it wasn't really connecting or resonating with me in any way. It just wasn't what I was hoping it would be. Although, to be honest, I'm not really sure exactly what I was hoping it for or expecting. Maybe some superhero powers, I don't know. So I skipped ahead, dove into a couple of other chapters that I liked the sound of, but it just wasn't still doing that much for me. I'm sure the book is great. It's just not what I really needed right then. And that's fine, because then I'd already started. I'd taken that leap with a bit of a push on the backside. But could you imagine if I'd waited till I'd read those books before I got started on that project? I'd still be here now, still not started, because I still haven't read those books. The schools who are right now running my online program, yes, it's out there, everything's running great. They wouldn't have that information, they wouldn't have that training to deliver to their students. Those students wouldn't have the skills and strategies that they are learning and honing, and their term 3 results and their finals wouldn't be as good as they are going to be now as a result of that. So, if you've been thinking of taking action that'll catapult your team's confidence and results, or will make them even more effective in their study, but you've been putting it off for whatever reason, then I'd encourage you to dig deep and consider what you're really waiting for and whether it's really serving you or your team. What would it mean if they just got started now in the 10-week Great Transformation Program? What would it mean if they registered this year for the Exam Mastery Workshop, rather than waiting to see how things go, wanting to try something else different first, or wondering whether it'll actually work? Where will they be this time next term if you had taken that action? been a little bit brave, taken a leap. And like I said, I know this might feel uncomfortable, and I know this has been a longer blog than usual, but I can tell you that waiting for or filling time with unnecessary steps is not the answer. It's not going to take away the discomfort you or your teen might be currently experiencing. So, if you need a friend that'll give you a bit of a reality check or a little kick in the backside, then I'm happy to be that person for you. If you want to chat about it, drop me an email and we'll set up a time for a friendly conversation on the phone. And until next week, let's take action to make this a fantastic week.